Good evening. How are you? Can you hear me? Can you hear me? Yes. Today we are going to discuss an important topic, which is related to the age of consent. As you know, this age of consent, which essentially means the age at which an individual can give consent for sexual relations. So, as of today, whether it is the Indian Penal Code or the Protection of Children from Sexual Offences, the age of consent is 18 years of age. 18 years. There have been multiple instances where high courts of the country, multiple high courts of the country have voiced their opinion, saying that this age of consent needs to be reduced. We'll see why they said so. There are also multiple studies which indicate that the consenting adults are criminalized under POCSO and IPC. The issue we are going to debate is whether the age of revised in the sense not upwards, please, not upwards but downward, right? So, should the age of consent be reduced or lowered? अमित, नोटपैड कहाँ है? As of today, the age of consent means the age at which an individual can provide consent for having sexual relations. As of today, the age of consent is 18. Prevention of Sexual Offences Act, Protection of Children from Sexual Offences Act, POCSO, says any individual who is below 18 years of age is a child. So, anybody who is below 18 years of age indulging in sexual relations will be penalized, punished according to the provisions of POCSO. As you know, this act, the purpose of this act is to protect the children from sexual exploitation and to penalize those who abuse the children. But one issue with the POCSO is it penalizes relationship between adolescents, teenagers, especially when the relationship is based upon consent. POCSO says a child is a child. Child means anyone who is 18 years below. So, even if there is a consensual sexual relationship between individuals below 18 years of age, they will be penalized, criminalized under the provisions of POCSO. Because POCSO says children is anyone who does not attain age of 18. Now, this sexual relationship is between individuals who have not attained 18. So, what happens is that the law will penalize these individuals. It can happen that one might be a child in the sexual relation, one might be a child, one might be an adult. It is possible that somebody, the boy might be of 19 years of age and the girl might be of 17. It is possible that both might be of 17. It might be possible that one might be 15 and one might be 17. Whatever that might be. Whether the sexual act is consensual does not matter. We can understand that if it is forced, which amounts to sexual abuse, rape, etc., then the law should come and protect the victims. But here what is happening is that the law is also trying to criminalize the romantic relationship between adolescents. Even if the relation is based upon consent. Studies have indicated that convictions or cases under POCSO, almost a quarter of them, around 25 to 30%, are dealing with romantic cases. The term romantic case means the case which comes out of the romantic relation. Individuals who are below 18 years of age. But in POCSO, consent does not matter. Whether there is consent, whether there is no consent does not matter. Consent means free. So the individual is taking a decision with respect to sexual relation. But that does not matter. Whether you are willingly doing it does not matter. If you are a child, then you are a child. Then the law will take its own course. So, studies have indicated that there have been multiple studies. One NLU, National Law University Delhi study, 2018 study is there. We have also given some other studies in the booklet. These studies have indicated that almost 30% of cases are dealing with romantic relationship. Which means individuals, I am using the word individuals because individuals below 18, they are having relations based upon their free will, exploring their sexuality. There is no force. But all these things do not matter as far as POCSO is concerned. Not only that, whenever the sexual relation happens, if anyone comes to know about it, has to report that to the police. Then the case will start.
Sir, NLU stands for what?
National Law University. High Courts of Karnataka, Madras, Kolkata, Punjab and various other high courts. They have quashed the case because they said that the sexual relation between these individuals are based upon consent. If both are, then the law should not be a barrier to it. And the High Court has said that it is high time to reduce the age of consent from 18 to, let's say, 15. That we will decide up to which age that has to be reduced. Now it is 18. The problem is that within this age bracket 18, individuals are being penalized and punished. POCSO. So this demands that there should be a rethink over the age of consent, which is as of today 18.
Sir, can there be a different view to it? Because many times we are seeing that the older guys or males are luring the younger.
We have not finished the debate. What we feel, this is what we are going to discuss. We will say the arguments for reducing the age of consent. After that, we will say the argument for not reducing the age of consent. After that, we will analyze this. This is how you proceed. So your point will be taken into consideration when we discuss the relevant section. Four. Fundamental argument is empirical evidence. Empirical means study conducted by the studies which we have mentioned, NLU study, right? There have been multiple other studies which say that a quarter of that or more than that have been romantic relationship. So the law should not have any penalization when based upon free will and consent. Nobody is forcing. Argument. Second argument is reasonable classification. I am using the RC, reasonable classification. Why? As you know, let me ask you, what is the definition of a child under Right to Education Act? Generally is taken as 14. In Prohibition of Employment of Children, what is that act? Prohibition and Regulation of Employment of Children, 2016, Child Labour Act. In that, children is 14, and there is another category 14 to 18, who is known as adolescent. And this adolescent can be employed in multiple occupation processes, which are not excluded. And as you know, there are very less number of processes and occupations which are excluded under the 2016 Amendment Act. In IPC, that is in criminal law, any individual who is below 7 years of age not commit any crime. If let's say I am 7 years of age, what do I do? You kill somebody. There will be no offense. So according to law, an individual who is below 7 years of age does not have the capacity to know the consequence of action. Right? He or she is not fully developed. Neither maturity, mental, moral, whatever. So no, there no 7. But up to 7 to 12, there are some areas there are some conditions under which offense can be alleged and the individual can be prosecuted. (16 to 18). There is another category. 16 to 18 category because, as you know, after the criminal law amendment, individuals between 16 to 18 can be tried as adult if heinous crimes. So you are treating individuals between 16 to 18 who commit heinous crime as adult. You are also having some category here. The point is that you are classifying children under various heads. You are classifying children reasonably. This is one category, this is one category, this is one category. The point is, if you can try an individual between 16 to 18 as an adult for committing heinous crime, like rape, very other thing, can you not extend the same logic for carving out a category within the age of consent debate? For example, let's say 16 to 18. This is a category. We can reduce from 18 to 16, no problem. Because children is not a homogeneous category. The criminal law has different approach. Not only that, even the parliamentary law. Not only that, an individual who is 14 years of age can have driving license, that for non-motor vehicle. The point I am trying to make is this: there are multiple classifications, reasonable classification of individuals into different groups based upon reason, objective. Similarly, it can be done. The fundamental belief is children are a homogeneous category. It's not so, because we have precedence here. Second is the level of maturity that children in contemporary society are experiencing. Because of the development of technology and various other avenues, the moral, mental, cognitive, psychosocial maturity, these are rapidly increasing. It is not the same that have happened earlier. Now children are being exposed to various experiences. The mobile is something which they have, they can access the entire. So earlier, their maturity level, the pace with which they reach that maturity or cognitive development, the pace is increased these days. So children can know a lot of things in a faster method or manner compared to the. So the idea behind these laws are children will not be able to make judgment, decision based upon facts and logic. They cannot take independent decision. This is the idea behind this 18. But the level of knowledge they have, the level of understanding they have, the level of maturity they are experiencing, it definitely gives them opportunity to take intelligent decisions. Fourth one is like the international scenario. If you see developed democracies, mature democracies for the like the West, the USA, the UK, Japan, Canada, Australia, even some of our neighbors, you will find that the age of consent is around 16 or below. In states of USA, it is 14. It is only recently that Japan has raised the age of consent to 15. Now, if you look at the mature democracies, developed democracies, you will find that the age of consent is 16 and below. Another important issue with respect to this high age of consent is this. I want to ask you one question: whether the right to privacy, right to bodily autonomy, right to sexual autonomy, right to decisional autonomy, are these only limited to adults, or whether these things are available to children also? Whether fundamental rights of the Constitution are only applicable to adult citizens or non-adult citizens? This is what I am asking you. Tell me, what do you think? Fundamental rights do not differentiate between children or adults. So, if decisional autonomy, if you read Puttaswamy judgment and various other progressive jurisprudence of the court, autonomy has been a very prominent theme. Autonomy means the ability to take decision independently. So, that autonomy has to be given to children. It is not absolute. Fine, even the fundamental rights are not absolute. But the kind of autonomy, autonomous space that we are providing to the adult citizens, we should also provide, although not to the same extent, to the children. We cannot say that this decisional autonomy, independence of thought, judgment, bodily autonomy, right to privacy, applicable to children, their child. No, fundamental rights do not differentiate. You recall when the farmers' protest was going on in Delhi, the Chief Justice of India, the then Chief Justice of India, he said that women and children are also being part of the protest. He asked them to go home. The fundamental question raised by right-thinking individuals was this: does right to protest only applicable to men or adults? The Constitution does not differentiate. No differentiation. You can reasonably classify, no problem. But say that everything is applicable to them, not to this group, that does not satisfy the constitutional position. Another important issue with this age of consent is, this age of consent becomes a tool in the hands of the society, the family, the community to control the people. Hypothetically speaking, not hypothetically, there have been multiple instances like this. Upper caste and lower caste. Let's say they are one is an adult and another is a minor. Right? One is 17, another is 21. They are in a romantic relationship, they want to get married, they want to live together, but the society does not accept it. Right? What they do? The only option they have to elope, then the parents will file a complaint. Now what will POXO will come? So POXO is there, very difficult to get bail and everything. POXO will come, police will be happy to assist the family to protect so-called honor. The individual will be arrested, put in jail. If it's right, maybe 10 years, 20 years, because it's a aggravated assault, whatever charge they add, the girl will be taken into a home, or if she is not willing to go, she will be sent to a correctional home or this shelter home. The marriage will be broken. I mean, not marriage, these relation will be broken. This happens. Even if the girl says, I did not elope in the sense that he has not kidnapped me, the charge will be kidnapping and POXO, kidnapping IPC and this POXO. She will say, no, it is upon my free consent that I have gone with this. We want to live together. But the question will come, consent. Right? What happened? Separation. This has happened. Family wants to control. They want to, what? They want to control the children in the sense that their code of honor and their world view. And they want the children to be following a specified path. So POXO becomes a tool in the hands of society and the administration and the state to exercise control over the children. The word state I mean in government as such. Not only that, when this happens, let's say, it might be possible that pregnancy might happen, some health issues might happen, reproductive issues might happen. So whether it is man or woman, the girl or boy, let's say pregnancy. As per Medical Termination of Pregnancy Act 1971, amended later, provides opportunities for abortion, even if the woman is unmarried, under certain conditions. But if assume hypothetically speaking, if the girl is say 16 years of age, pregnancy, all conditions under MTP satisfied, went to hospital and says this, I am 17, I want to do this. But the hospital will say, as per POXO, it is mandatory for any individual who comes to the knowledge of a sexual relation between individuals below 18 to report that to the police mandatorily. What the doctor will do? Take up the phone and call up the police station. It has to be reported, otherwise the individual will be punished. Here is another question, I want to put it to you. Ethics, medical ethics. What is the ethics of a doctor? What is medical ethics? If you treat the person who comes or to report the person to a police officer or authority. If a terrorist after, let's say, an encounter with the police comes to a doctor for treatment, what should the doctor do if the doctor knows that the individual is a terrorist? Whether he should treat him or as well as contact the police. The terrorist came to the doctor believing that he will not inform the police because his duty is to save me. let's take this way. The terrorist is very badly injured. He has to be treated in the hospital, he has to be kept on bed, and he has become unconscious. And the doctor knows that it takes almost 1-2 months for that he can again wake up and properly, he can be properly treated. It takes time. Within these 2 months, should the doctor inform? What if in the meantime the police comes to the hospital and asks doctor, do you find this individual? Should the doctor say yes or no? What should the doctor do? And the doctor knows that this individual is responsible for killing a lot of people. What should the doctor do? That's a different question altogether. But the point is that if the doctor is supposed to inform the police, logical corollary is that he has to follow that in every situation, which is a violation of medical ethics. That is not what a doctor is supposed to do. And why should I report everything? My point is that this happens. And the right of that girl for a proper medical care, treatment, health checkup is violated. Anyway, let's see the arguments against. I am only dealing with the purpose of giving you a proper understanding of this issue. Second, to give you adequate content as far as the examination is concerned. Otherwise we can discuss this issue for a long time. Right? Argument against. What are the arguments against this reducing the age of consent? Anybody? Any argument for reducing, for no, yes, early pregnancies. Let's take the first issue, the most prominent. The fundamental issue is this. What is age of consent? You are saying reduce it. Up to what age has to be reduced? 15, 16, 14, 12, what should be the age? How do we reach that age? That's a fundamental question. Should it be 16? Should it be 14? To rationally reach, to scientifically reach an age of consent, a proper age of consent is a very difficult, tricky issue. Second, how to define consent. What exactly is consent? How do we know that consent is not forced consent, influenced consent, persuaded consent, involuntary consent? How do we know that? This is very much crucial, especially when the relation between the victim and the aggressor, for that matter. I am using the word aggressor because no, let us use another word. Consent is not an isolated factor. There are multiple things which influences consent. If, hypothetically speaking, the girl is from a very poor family, poor background, and the individual who, whether it's a minor or an adult, from a very affluent family, who has the resources to deal with the administration, police and the court. What if that individual and their family pressurizes this girl that says that this is consent, not forced? Amit? Acha. Yes. Point is that it can be forced. The girl might say it is based on consent because she is pressurized. Recall the case recently happened. One of the most powerful member of parliament in one of India's most populous state. One minor has accused that individual for sexual harassment. Right? And you know what happened after that. The minor has withdrawn her complaint. Power equations, power relation, impact of caste, religion, all these things have to be taken into account. The point is that very difficult to define consent, especially in the context of Indian society, where the power relation is skewed. And many a time, the consent becomes a default option in the sense that the delay, the Indian judiciary is very infamous for delay. Now, how long the individual who is a victim of this sexual offense go and appear before the court? 1 year, 2 years, 3 years, 4, 5, 6. Then they will say that yes, this is consent, leave it. She or he has suffered a lot. Now, this suffering cannot be gone. There has to be speedy justice. The point is, consent may be manufactured, not voluntary. Especially the peculiar situation of Indian society. Third is the channelizing of energy of children. Because they say children's energy should be channelized towards what? Productive areas, productive domains, study, education, reflection, critical thinking. When you enter into this kind of sexual relation, romantic relation, there is a high chance of unwanted pregnancies, early pregnancies. Chances of sexually transmitted diseases. Problem for reproductive health, psychosocial issues. Because the body as well as the mind might not be developed to such an extent where these things can be accepted. Are you able to understand what I am trying to say? Another issue is that on the one hand, the government is trying to increase the age of marriage. As per
Número 4. Mandante.
spam. The age of marriage as of today is 18 for female, 21 for male in general, because as far as the tribal communities are concerned, they have their own customs, and as far as Islamic law is concerned, it is 15, the age of puberty. But in general, it's 18 21. The government is trying to increase the age of girls from 18 to 21. So on the one hand, the government is trying to increase the age of marriage. Why? Because early marriage will lead to early pregnancy, health issues, lack of focus on education, problem for women empowerment. So once the idea behind this increasing age of marriage is welfare of women, right? So on the other hand, you are trying to decrease the age of consent. These things are not coherent. So government, that is why government has said in the parliament that we have no, intention to reduce the age of consent, because we believe that the current age is appropriate, and on the one hand we are trying to increase the age of marriage in order to provide more opportunity as far as women is concerned, and we will not be trying to do anything which will undermine this noble objective. Very nice. Government can do that. 30% something are this romantic relation, etc., etc. And the conviction rate is also very less. Does that provide any basis for reducing the age of consent? What about that 70? What about that 70%? I'm simply asking you, what about that 70%? 70% might be convicted, or the case might be going on. Poor conviction rate or acquittal do not mean that the problem with the age of consent. The problem with poor investigation, poor prosecution. Even you say 30% is romantic relationship, what exactly is romance relationship? Is there a legal definition for that? And it is very much possible that, as I mentioned, this consent, romance, might be based upon influence, manufactured, forced. We have seen the arguments for the reducing the age of consent. We have also seen argument against. One argument again I will tell you about this not reducing the age of consent, because this might create incentive for the sexual predators, pedophiles, so-called, the word pedophile, who and it may create situation where children will be abused, and there will be, instead of protecting the children, the purpose of POCSO is to protect the children from this. It might create more harm. And point is that, let's say, what is the age gap also? If you are reducing the age of consent, let's say 16, you reduced it. Old girl or boy having sex, let's say 35 to 40. The age gap is so huge. Isn't it? So we also should take this age gap into consideration. Just reducing the age of consent might not be appropriate. Just say that reduce the age of consent without taking into consideration the huge age gap, the power relation, whether a teacher or, let's say, parents or relatives or individuals in authority. You cannot have consent in that way. 60-year-old or individual and 17-year-old individual. What kind of consent is there? The point is that there might be, it might open up opportunity for exploitation, especially in Indian context where large number of individuals, especially children, they are vulnerable and belonging to poor sections. So their protection might be, their interests might not be protected. In fact, they become more vulnerable to these sexual acts. Now, let us see whether this debate, what has to be the conclusion? What should we do as far as the debate is concerned? Before ending it, I want to ask you one more thing. Let's see whether it is ethical to no, leave it. Wait. This issue I need to discuss. After that, I'll come to that. Age of marriage, consent. Age of marriage and age of consent. Age of marriage, 18 and 21, in general. Muslims, tribals, 15 or depending upon their customs. Age of consent is 18. POCSO, IPC 375. If individual belonging to this Islamic community marries at the age of 16 and the husband is 22, what is the impact of this POCSO on this marriage? Will the husband be convicted or penalized under POCSO? Personal law of the religion gives permission to marry when the girl attains puberty. That is 15 years of age. POCSO says children is 18, anyone under 18 is a children, sexual relation will be penalized. There have been multiple cases where POCSO have taken over this marriage. In Assam, around 2,000 something individuals have been arrested by the Assam government. Because they said you are married under this and POCSO, you are violating POCSO. Punjab and Haryana High Court acquitted individual married under personal law, saying that personal law is 15, so POCSO will not apply. Gujarat High Court said POCSO will apply. Reducing the age will also help non-prosecution of individuals who marry under their personal law. But the issue is not simple. The problem is not with marriage. You can marry. Marrying is not a problem. Although, yes, although there is another Prevention of Child Marriage Act. This Prevention of Child Marriage Act is there. But the Prevention of Child Marriage Act does not say that it will override personal law. You can marry under your personal law, but you cannot consummate the marriage. If you consummate the marriage, then POCSO will apply. The word consummation, you know that? So, you can marry at 15, but till 18 you cannot consummate. A woman at 15 can marry. She cannot give consent for consummation. But after 18, her consent does not matter. Why? Marital rape is an exception. After 18, the rape is not applicable to this married couple. So, woman's consent does not matter. Before 18, her consent is not valid. After 18, also her consent does not matter. After 18, in the sense I am talking about marital rape. See, everything is linked. The point I am trying to make is this, the linkage which we are trying to bring in. Personal law, marital rape, Indian Penal Code, POCSO, age of consent, sexual autonomy, control of society, the law. If you reduce the age of consent, let's say to 16, to some extent this issue, personal law wala issue, might be addressed. Although there is another, this Prevention of Child Marriage Act. As you know, Prevention of Child Marriage Act Amendment Bill is in the Parliament Standing Committee, where the government is trying to increase from 18 to 21. The question is, what will happen to this personal law? The bill says that it will override the personal law. Although the application of that clause might be delayed for 2 years by the President. Anyway, that's a different debate in the sense that whenever this issue comes, I will take again that class, although I have taken that class earlier. But the point is that age of consent is linked to age of marriage. But age of marriage and age of consent are different things. It is very much possible to engage in sexual relationship through consent, free will, right, and not to marry. If you equate marriage with the license or legitimacy to have sexual relation, then you link both. The problem is that society seems as these two are together. That is 18, it is kept 18. Right? Second is ethics. Ethicality of premarital sex. Ultimately, this is the issue. I am reframing it whether consent between individuals make sexual relation ethical. Let's leave aside the law. You might get a question in ethics also, although may not be in the direct way, right? How can we justify this? How can we justify the consent-based sexual relation or premarital sex or adolescents engaging in sexual relation? How can we justify that? Can consent be the justifier? Can we justify this on the basis of consent? Does engaging in premarital sex indicate lack of virtue, bad character? Or if you take an hedonistic approach, pleasure, the pleasure the individual is getting from engaging in this activity, will it justify it? Or if you take the Kantian approach of autonomy of individual, both individuals are autonomous, they can decide what they should do with their body and their life. Will it justify that? Or children engaging in, or the adolescents or children engaging in sexual activities will have huge ramifications for society. It will break the social fabric. It will end the system of family. It will create social chaos. There will be no sanctity of relationship. Utilitarian, more harm than less good. Or if I take a contractarian approach, that which is ethical, which is based on consent or agreement. This is what they say. An action deemed to be ethical, correct, right, if it is based upon free and voluntary consent. Individuals are giving consent. You, me, who that might be, A or B. Consent, agreement. Then they are acting. They are engaging in some action. So consent makes that action ethical. Although law might have different approach. What is legal may not be moral, what is moral may not be legal. Whenever you get a question in this theme, in ethics, you may use this idea. Rest, Ansari sir will teach you, right? Second, you might get question in the essay also. So all these points you can write. Let us conclude this debate here. What must be done? I want to ask you, what should be done? Tell me. What should be done? Should the age of consent be reduced? Should the age of consent be reduced? Yes or no? will not be enough, but anyway, that will also be somewhat sufficient.
There must be sexual education also, so that individual can understand. Should I'm going into the consent to be better for the.
Okay. So the fundamental beginning point is whether it should be reduced or not. Yes or no? Okay. So she is saying that if there is consent, then then we can consider that. अच्छा ऊपर होना है अभी आ रहा है. Consent is the issue. So age of consent can be reduced if the age of consent is reduced. Sorry, the age of consent can be reduced in some conditions where there is proper consent. There we can establish that there is actual factual consent, and the consent is not something forced, fraudulently taken or involuntary. Is there anyone who says that we should not reduce it, whatever the age limit is there, it should be kept that way? Scientific evaluation related to sexual activity. Scientific evaluation, not to sexual activity, scientific evaluation to reach the age, to what age we have to reduce it, that way. Is there anybody here who wants to say that there should not be any touch? We should leave that age of consent as such. No, you cannot have both. You can't have the cake and eat it. Are you saying that let us carve out a category? Let's carve out this category of 16 to. Said that this is an age where the individuals start moving to the adulthood. This is a period where a lot of cognitive development, behavioral changes are happening, hormonal changes are experienced. So let us take out this category and let us treat this as a different category, different class, and if there is establishment of consent, then the rigor of POCSO should not apply. But this simultaneously it has to be also seen that if one individual is 16 and another is, let's say, 35 something, the age gap has also to be seen. Simply reducing the age to a level is not enough. We have to also see the age gap. Right? The Law Commission of India as of today has been asked by the courts or various other stakeholders to do a study on this. The Law Commission has taken has asked for the response of the government. But as of today's newspaper, the Indian Express says that the Law Commission has decided to keep the age of consent as such. But the report has not come out. But what we can say that the Law Commission and the government believe that this age of consent is appropriate and it is necessary to keep it that way. But that does not mean that we should take that approach.
Sir, can we have a different view on this? Because as we have seen that in most of the cases, as you said, between 2017 and 19, the conviction rate was only 30%. So why it was so? It was so because the courts are not hitting those adolescents as criminals who are consenting for a consensual relationship. So, can we say that court is itself giving judgment based on the reality, social reality? So only those cases are being persecuted, or only those individuals are being held criminal who are exploiting the younger children?
There is a recent NCRB data which says that half of POCSO cases belonging to individuals who are between 16 to 18. Half of POXO cases belong to this 16 to 18. The point of 30% is 30% cases dealing with romantic relationship. The point is that poor conviction, if at all there, yes, there is very poor conviction, that is not only in POXO, but also in other cases.
My point was that, sir, can that be one rationale behind the decision of NCI, Law Commission of India, and government to keep the age as it is? Because they are seeing that the conviction rate is less. Why? Because only those individuals are being persecuted who are really guilty, like who are really exploiting the.
But the point is that.
No, I'm saying about their.
Yes, I understand your point. Very good. The point I understand that. But you see, you will remain under trial. The point is whether you are guilty or not, that will be decided. But this is long delay. The fundamental, if let's say I am an adult and I engage with sexual relation with a minor, the first thing is that I will be put in jail. Right? Then the burden of proof is on me. You know, there is a reversal of concept, burden of proof on me to prove that I am not guilty. It takes long time to prove that I am not guilty and there is consent, etc., etc. By the time I will suffer 5 years, 10 years in jail.
Sir, there can be one solution to this particular issue that you have raised right now. Like, can we add one provision in the law itself? Like, if the adults, like if the two consenting guys are in the same age bracket or the age difference, as you said, are less, then they should not be tried. We can, instead of reducing the age of consent, we can add a provision in the POXO Act itself.
But yes, we can add that provision. But ultimately what we are doing? We are reducing the age of consent to some specific category. We can either generally reduce from 18 to 16 across the board. Either we can reduce for this age bracket.
Because considering the transitional nature of our society, this law can be exploited to a great extent, as we are witnessing.
The problem is with this law is it has also been exploited, especially to control the teenage relation and those relations which the family or society does not accept. Right? The point is that instead of reducing the age of consent across the board, let us carve out a category, right? Let's say 16 to 18, and add various other conditionalities like the age gap, etc., and then provide some scope for continuity of this romantic relationship. Provide some freedom to our children rather than penalizing them. The rigor of the law should be there as far as POXO is concerned, but it should not be used as a tool to penalize consenting relationship between individuals. We are moving towards progress. If you see live-in relationship, Section 377, reading down the privacy judgment of Supreme Court, the fundamental thread that runs through all these judgments is the autonomy of the individual, privacy of the individual. So we are providing more rights to individuals. This idea has to be replicated as far as children are concerned, but not to that extent where the protective umbrella of the law is reduced and there is scope for more abuse. We can reasonably classify children like we have in various other laws and to carve out a separate category to deal with the issue raising out consensual relationship. In this way, both the intent of the law that to protect the children for sexual harm and the freedom for individuals can also be promoted and protected. Both can be done. Empirical evidence show that the law has been misused, and hence there is a time, the time has come to revisit the issue of age of consent. This debate has also to be seen in the context of the interlinkage between age of consent, age of marriage, and personal law and others. But the crucial question will be, what should be the right age of consent? This age of consent can be reached based upon two principles. Number one. One principle is provide adequate scope for bodily freedom of bodily freedom for psychologically and physiologically mature individuals, while at the same time protecting those immature individuals. I am saying psychologically, physiologically mature. You provide them freedom. At the same time, those who are not, protect them. Number one. Second principle can be the age of consent should be reached on the basis of a scientifically devised criteria, on a rational basis. The developed democracies, mature societies of the West can provide us a model to deal with this issue. Because we have provided one great example of close-in age gap. Close-in gap, there is a law, this is also known as Romeo and Juliet law. Romeo and Juliet law. These laws are in some states of, in fact, many states of USA. Which means Romeo and Juliet means those individuals who are entering into romantic relationships, they are protected. They are not penalized. Even individuals having at the age of 10 years in USA, some states are also get married. That's a different thing. Right? We need to protect them. Similarly, we should provide opportunities. This cannot be an either or. Society is progressing. The law is not moving. There is a lag here. So what we are saying, a debate has been generated. Take the view of concerned stakeholders, given the empirical evidence, right, and the need for bodily freedom, autonomy of individuals, including children. The need has come to revisit the age of consent. But it has to be done on the basis of a rationally scientific devised criteria. Right? It also should not lead to undermining the protective umbrella of the law. Anything you want to ask, you can. Question we have provided, very simple, we write it. Any question? Example, marriage 18, 21 voting, yes, alcohol. That is what we are saying, referable classification. Anything? I will take say in order to see this question, because we cannot ask the question directly. So what we have done, one question to first time see this question. If you don't know the context, then it will be difficult to understand. This is an easy question. There is a need for legal reform to revise the age of consent and prevent the criminalization of older adolescents engaged in consensual and non-exploitative acts. Comment. Very easy to write this. The outcome of the interplay among law, technology and social change necessitates a relook into the fundamental assumptions about the level of psychosocial and psychological development of children. Illustrate. This is a question which I framed in order to make it difficult for you. This is very simple. Interplay means what? The interaction. Law, technology. Law means POCSO, IPC. Technology means the social media and various other technological advancement that is going on. And social change. Because of the technology and advancement of democracy, the mobility, this society is also moving. Because of this change, our assumptions of psychosocial physiological development of children, our assumption about children is they are children. They, until unless they are 18, they are not adult or they won't be able to develop their independent judgment. Even after 18 in Indian society, the parents try to control as well as care about. We are a common society in the sense that the family ties are very strong here. Right? So parents always see, or community always see that children as children, even if they grow up. But development happened in such a way that children are becoming mature very fast. And they are taking independent decisions. There are very, grandmasters of India, chess, at the age of 15, 12, something like that? Below 18? Right? What? I mean, the point is that there are individual children who are excelling in multiple fields below 18. So they are, right? So their level of knowledge, understanding, intellectual capacity is entirely different, higher than adults. Age is not a factor. So especially today, these children are growing up. So we need to change your assumption about the level of childhood, what exactly the children can do. The children, our assumption is children cannot enter into sexual relationship or whatever that might be because of children are children. They don't have the developmental capacity, outcome. But things are happening, changing. So law also needs to change. This is the fundamental theme behind this question. Elucidate means example. The example is the POXO, another thing you have, right? You can also give that study, one or two. Then you write. Very easy.
So in comment, we have to give cons as well, or
No, the word comment is simply asking for an opinion, right? Opinion in the sense that it has to be, let's say, there are two things. Comment is the command of the question. The question is the demand of the question. The statement is demand. So the demand of the question will remain the same, irrespective of the command. If it is explain, you simply explain it, what exactly happened, what is it. In comment, you have an option to provide an alternative viewpoint at the end.
but largely we have to agree with that statement.
Yes, your conclusion needs to be, see, depending upon the question. You have room, a comment is providing you room to have your own opinion. But the opinion should be valid as well as commonly accepted. You can say that, yes, comment. Point is that there is a need for legal reform. It is saying there should be reform. Reform in the sense it is saying that there should be reduction of age. This is what it is saying. But comment, you can say, however, this reduction of age has its own challenges. Like instead of protecting the children, it might create harm for them. Hence, although might be reducing the age of consent might be a noble idea, but it has to be, other challenges also needs to be addressed. That view, right? This is what we are trying to say. If it is critically examine, then the scope of rejection is much more. Here you don't have to reject it. Just provide an alternative viewpoint at the end.
And under which directive, sir, we have to write way forward or?
Way forward has to be written in every question. But the point is that if it is 10 marker, right, then you include that way forward in conclusion. The fundamental idea, theme of the question has to be addressed. Right, if you address it, you will get mark. Then this way forward comes after that. You write way forward for everything, but you don't address the exact theme of the question. Then there is no point. Right? Some question, what you do, include way forward within conclusion. 3 to 4 lines. In some questions, you provide proper way forward. If you have proper points.
So is there any specific command under which we have to write way forward? Or like can
Justify, substantiate. In general, you should provide it. Ultimately, what the point is that shows a kind of futuristic perspective. Give you a suggestion. If it is 15-mark question, you are expected to provide it. Right? You make it a habit of giving that. It is not necessary that you provide 5, 6 points. Provide relevant point. And that is expected to, it provides a one step forward. What can happen? What can be done? Either you include it within conclusion, or if it is a big question, right, that some suggestion to address this situation are 1, 2, 3, 4 like that. This way you write. Example, marriage 18, 21 years. Elucidate means examples have to be written. You use examples and anyway, I will take there is a strategy session on 21st as far as Tucker program is concerned. I don't know how many of you are in there, but Tucker program, right? So I will give you the strategy. I mean, as far as PT is concerned, mains is concerned, then we will discuss the various commands, how to go about it, right? Everything. Don't worry about that. Okay, thank you so much. I'll see you on Saturday. Saturday, the topic will be mediation. Although the topic which is given to you is the NCT amendment bill, right? But I will be taking mediation. This NCT will be pushed forward because it takes a lot of effort to read and study. So it's better to have some time for that, right? So we are taking the mediation bill, and we'll see the alternative dispute redressal mechanism, ADR, and mediation, etc. On Saturday. And after that, we'll deal with personal data protection bill. After that, we'll deal with the NCT, the judgment of Supreme Court, the ordinance, and the bill, etc., etc. Okay? Thank you so much.